Jerusalem, March 2023. A millennia-old city where three religions converge, where every stone holds secrets of thousands of years. But what happened in a modest house in the Talpiot neighborhood would shake even the greatest experts in ancient languages worldwide. David Goldstein, only 4 years old, wakes from a deep sleep and utters his first words of the day, but they are not words in Hebrew, Arabic, or English. They are words that should not come from the mouth of a child of the 21st century. Aba Shpakten Kabine. Father, forgive us our debts. His mother, Sarah, freezes completely. Her heart races. She recognizes divinity, recognizes these words from a distant place in her memory, but it is impossible. Her 4-year-old son has just spoken in Aramaic, the language spoken by Jesus Christ 2,000 years ago. And you are about to discover the most incredible story ever documented in the modern era. A story that challenged linguists from 3 universities, renowned archaeologists, and experts in ancient manuscripts. A story that led an ordinary Jerusalem family to uncover something that could forever change our understanding of reincarnation, ancestral memory, and the deepest mysteries of the Christian faith. What you will see in the next 30 minutes is not fiction or staged. Every word, every discovery, every recording has been documented and verified by respected academic institutions worldwide. Prepare yourself. For the case of David Goldstein is not just about a child speaking a dead language. It is about a prophecy on the verge of fulfillment. It all began 3 months earlier, in December 2022. David Goldstein was a completely normal child. He spoke the typical words of a 4-year-old, "Mommy, Daddy, I'm hungry, I want to play." His vocabulary did not exceed the 200 basic words a child his age usually masters. But on December 15th, something changed forever. David was playing in the kitchen while Sarah prepared lunch. The little boy tried to reach a glass of water on the table when he lost his balance. The fall was severe. His head struck the marble edge of the kitchen counter directly. The sound was sharp, terrifying. Sarah rushed to him. David was unconscious. Blood flowed from a wound on the right side of his head. Paramedics arrived in 8 minutes. At Hadassah Hospital, doctors confirmed a severe concussion but no apparent permanent damage. David remained unconscious for 18 hours. When he woke up, the first thing he said was neither "mommy" nor "it hurts." The first thing that came from his lips was a complete sentence in a language he had never heard. Abad Bishmaya, Netkadash Shmak. Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Sarah felt a shiver run through her body. Those words seemed so familiar yet so impossible. Dr. Moshe Rosen, the hospital's neurologist, witnessed the moment. He would later confess that in 25 years of his career, he had never seen anything like it. It was as if the child had awakened with a memory that did not belong to him. But this was only the beginning. Sarah Goldstein could not sleep. Her son's words echoed in her mind over and over. For 3 days, David continued to speak in this strange language, mixed with his usual childish Hebrew. But they were not meaningless words. They were complete sentences with perfect grammatical structure. "I need answers," Sarah told herself, and she knew exactly where to find them. The Hebrew University of Jerusalem houses one of the most prestigious departments of Semitic languages in the world. On December 20th, 2022, Sarah took David by the hand and headed to the Institute of Ancient Languages building. Dr. Rachel Cohen, a biblical Aramaic specialist with 30 years of experience, agreed to evaluate the child. "It's probably made-up words or mispronounced Hebrew," she thought. "This will be quick." But when David entered her office, what happened left her utterly speechless. The child went straight to a shelf full of ancient manuscripts. His small fingers pointed to a papyrus from the 2nd century of the Common Era, and he spoke with crystal clarity, "Hanaktava Kadisha. This is the Holy Book." Dr. Cohen felt her legs tremble. That phrase was written exactly on that papyrus, but it was impossible for David to know it. The manuscript had never been translated for the public. Only 3 people in the world could read it. "Where did you learn these words?" she asked in Hebrew. David looked at her with his large brown eyes and replied in perfect Aramaic, "Analika minyoma dewalit. I have known you since the day you were born." The subsequent linguistic analysis revealed something that chilled the blood of everyone present. David was not only speaking Aramaic, he was speaking the specific Galilean dialect of the 1st century. The same dialect Jesus of Nazareth would have used. The question that tormented Dr. Cohen was simple but terrifying. How could a 4-year-old child master a language extinct for 15 centuries? The news of little David spread like wildfire through Jerusalem's academic circles. Linguists, theologians, and archaeologists began asking questions no one could answer. But David had an answer, and that answer would change everything. "I want to go home," he said to his mother in Aramaic one cold January morning. Sarah had already learned to understand some basic phrases. "Home? But we are home, darling." David shook his head with a seriousness unusual for his age. "Baita Davi, to my father's house." For 3 weeks, David insisted on going to his father's house. He drew strange maps. He spoke of mountains and lakes he had never seen. His descriptions were so detailed, so precise, that Sarah began researching. David's descriptions matched the geography of Galilee exactly, specifically the area around Capernaum, an ancient fishing town on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. On February 15, 2023, Sarah made the most important decision of her life. She bought plane tickets to Tiberias, the closest city to Capernaum. The flight lasted barely 45 minutes. But when the small plane began its descent over the Sea of Galilee, something extraordinary happened. David pressed his face against the window and began to cry. They were not tears of sadness, but of an emotion Sarah had never seen in him before. "Lamed Galilee," he whispered in a broken voice. "The Sea of Galilee." When they landed in Tiberias, David did something that left his mother in absolute shock. The child, who had never left Jerusalem, who had never seen a picture of Galilee, walked without hesitation to a specific taxi. "To Capharnaum," he told the driver in Hebrew. "Capernaum." The driver, an elderly man named Moshe, looked at Sarah in surprise. "He knows the ancient name of Capernaum?" Sarah had no answer, for she herself did not know. During the 20-minute drive, David pointed out specific places in the landscape, naming them in Aramaic with a chilling familiarity. It was as if he had walked those paths 1,000 times before, but the most shocking revelation was yet to come. When they arrived in Capernaum, David ran to the ruins of the ancient synagogue as if it were his own backyard. His little feet moved with a certainty that defied all logic. Sarah followed him, filming every moment with her phone. What she captured that afternoon of February 15th would change biblical archaeology forever. David went straight to a seemingly ordinary stone wall, located exactly 47 meters east of the main synagogue. Later measurements would confirm this millimetric precision. "It's hidden here," he said in Aramaic, touching the stones with his small hands. "Quyaba de Kaye, the Book of Life." Sarah did not understand what was hidden or who had hidden it. But David was already pointing with surgical precision. 4 stones down, 7 to the right, at 2.5 meters deep. The exact coordinates were recorded: latitude 32.8195, longitude 35.5630, depth 2.5 meters. Sarah immediately contacted Dr. Yigal Yadin XI, director of the archaeology department at Tel Aviv University. "Please come. My son says something is buried here." Dr. Yadin arrived with his team 3 days later, more out of academic curiosity than real expectation. "Mrs. Goldstein, we've been excavating in Capernaum for 40 years. Every square meter has been studied." But David insisted with a conviction that unsettled the adults present. The excavations began on February 20th at 9:30 in the morning. At a depth of 1.8 meters, a junior archaeologist's shovel hit something solid. It was not stone, it was ceramic. At exactly 2.47 meters deep, so close to David's predicted 2.5 meters that the difference was statistically insignificant, they found a perfectly preserved clay jar. Inside the jar was a parchment scroll wrapped in linen, sealed with beeswax. Dr. Yadin would later declare that in 40 years of his career, he had never experienced anything like it. It was as if the child had an invisible map of Capernaum's buried treasures. But when they opened the scroll, what they found left them speechless. It was a 1st-century Aramaic text, written in the same calligraphy as the Dead Sea Scrolls. And the content was impossible. While the archaeologists analyzed the found scroll, something even more disturbing began to happen in the Tiberias hotel room where Sarah and David were staying. Every night, at exactly 3:33 in the morning, David began speaking in his sleep. But these were not the typical incoherent words of a sleeping child. They were full conversations in Aramaic. And the most terrifying thing was that he seemed to be responding to someone. Sarah decided to record these nighttime conversations. What she captured over 7 consecutive nights defied all logic. In the recording from the third night, David clearly says, "Ken more, Anayata." "Yes, master, I know." Then he remains silent for 23 seconds, as if listening to a response. Then he continues, "Talmudei alam hamnan lu, the disciples don't believe me." Sarah sent the recordings to Dr. Amit Goran, a forensic audio analysis specialist at Ben-Gurion University. His response came 3 days later with a note that changed everything. "Mrs. Goldstein, I need to see you urgently. There's something in these recordings that defies all logic." In his laboratory, Dr. Goran played the recordings on specialized equipment capable of detecting frequencies inaudible to the human ear. "Look at this," he said, pointing to the sound waves on his monitor. "Here's David's voice at a normal frequency, but notice this." He adjusted the software parameters, and additional waves appeared. There's a second voice. An adult, deeper voice, responding in perfect Aramaic. But it's impossible. In the normal audio, you hear nothing during those 23 seconds of silence. Sarah felt the world sway around her. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely. I analyzed these recordings for 72 hours straight. The second voice exists, but it's at a frequency David technically cannot produce. His 4-year-old larynx physically cannot generate such low tones." Dr. Goran played the filtered conversation. The adult voice was clear, paternal, tender. "Ana barak yatkun, Yalda Kadisha. I bless you, holy child." But the most shocking revelation came when they analyzed the full content of the conversations. David was not just talking to someone, he was receiving precise instructions about something that would change history forever. In the recording from the 5th night, David uttered words that chilled the blood of everyone who heard them. "Barba Injamin Batrad Malkuta, Gilead Rabba, Ne Jew. In 40 days, at the place of the kingdom, there will be a great revelation." Sarah didn't understand Aramaic well enough, but when Dr. Goran translated the full phrase, her world shook. The prophecy was specific, testable, and had a deadline, 40 days from that night of recording, that is, April 2, 2023. But David didn't stop there. In the same nighttime conversation, he provided exact coordinates. Tlatan Dargan Min Madantaba Mingantad Zaytuna, 32 degrees from the holy city west of the Mount of Olives. Mathematical calculations led to a precise point in the Judean desert, exactly 47.3 kilometers southeast of Jerusalem, a place where, according to David, the secret of secrets would be revealed. Dr. Yadin, still skeptical after the Capernaum discovery, decided to stake his academic reputation. If this child can accurately predict another archaeological find, then we are facing something that defies all scientific understanding. An expedition was organized for April 2, 2023. Archaeologists from 3 universities, ancient language specialists, film crews, and of course, David and his mother participated. During the 33 days of waiting, David continued to provide disturbing details about what they would find. An underground chamber at 4.2 meters deep, sealed with the sign of the fish. Inside, 7 jars of consecrated oil and a scroll containing the words the master never wrote but dictated. The precision of his descriptions was terrifying. He drew maps of the underground chamber, described the symbols engraved on the jars, and even specified the type of writing on the scroll. Kwetav Ibri Atik, ancient Hebrew script. On April 1, the eve of the prophesied date, David made a statement no one expected. "Tomorrow, when they find the master's words, they will understand why I returned. Time is running out." At 6 in the morning on April 2, the excavators began working at the exact coordinates David provided. What they found at 2:47 in the afternoon that day changed everything. At exactly 4.17 meters deep, so close to David's predicted 4.2 meters that the difference was negligible, the excavators hit solid rock. It was a sealed underground chamber, exactly as David described. The entrance was marked with an early Christian fish symbol carved into 1st-century limestone. Inside the chamber were 7 perfectly preserved oil jars and a parchment scroll wrapped in white linen. But when Dr. Yadin opened the main scroll, what he read left him utterly speechless. The text was written in Aramaic and Koine Greek, dated to the year 33 of the Common Era. But it was not an ordinary document. It was a personal letter addressed to those who would come later, when the time was fulfilled. The full translation of the first paragraph chilled the blood of everyone present. I, Yeshua ben Joseph, leave these words for the child who will carry my spirit when the world needs it most. He will be young in age but great in wisdom. He will speak with my voice and remember my ways. His mission will be to prepare hearts for what is to come. Sarah felt her legs give way. The scroll specifically spoke of a child who would speak Aramaic, remember places he had never visited, and guide others to buried truths. But the second paragraph was even more shocking. The chosen child will be born in the city of peace in times of great global confusion. He will be 4 years old when his memory awakens, and his mother will bear the name of the princess of our people. Sarah means princess in Hebrew. David was exactly 4 years old when he began speaking Aramaic, and they were born in Jerusalem, the city of peace. The coincidence was statistically impossible, but the scroll revealed something even more extraordinary. It contained coordinates of other places where truths await revelation, specific locations in Nazareth, Bethany, and Jericho, where, according to the text, David would find the treasures to complete his mission. Dr. Yadin, with 40 years of archaeological experience, made a statement he never thought he would utter: either we are facing the most elaborate fraud in history, or we are truly witnessing something that defies all scientific and theological understanding. David, who had been silent throughout the excavation, finally spoke. Ana leatibl midras. Ana etitl gauta. I did not come to teach, I came for redemption. His words echoed in the desert silence like an echo of the past suddenly becoming present. But what happened 3 days later, on April 5, 2023, surpassed even the most extraordinary expectations. Dr. Marcus Benedetti, an Italian archaeologist and specialist in first-century manuscripts, had come from Rome to analyze the discovered scrolls. He was a skeptic, accustomed to debunking archaeological frauds with scientific precision. When he entered the hotel room where David was playing with his small plastic soldiers, something inexplicable happened. David looked up, his eyes filling with tears of recognition. Shimon Barona, he whispered in Aramaic with a voice too mature for his age. You who denied me 3 times. Dr. Benedetti froze. That name, Shimon Barona, was the original Aramaic name of the Apostle Peter. But it was impossible for a 4-year-old to know such a specific reference. How? How do you know that name? He stammered in Italian. David replied in perfect Aramaic, but this time his voice carried an emotional depth that chilled the blood. You wrote to me 3 times, and 3 times I forgave you. Dr. Benedetti felt the world sway around him. In his private, unpublished research, he had studied 3 letters attributed to Peter mentioning episodes of repentance. It was information only he knew. What letters? He asked in a trembling voice. David approached and took the archaeologist's hand with his small fingers. The letters you keep in the blue box in the 3rd drawer of your desk in Rome, the ones you found in Antioch but never dared to publish because no one would believe you. Dr. Benedetti began to tremble. It was exactly where he kept those manuscripts. It was information literally no one else in the world could know. But David wasn't done. With a heartbreaking tenderness, he said, Your doubts are not a sin, Marcus. Your search for truth is your way of praying. I returned so you would know your work has purpose. Dr. Benedetti, a 58-year-old man who had dedicated his life to science, knelt before a 4-year-old child and wept as he had never wept before. At that moment, everyone present understood they were not dealing with a psychological phenomenon or a statistical coincidence. They were facing something far deeper. 5 months have passed since the extraordinary events we witnessed in the Judean desert. And the repercussions continue to shake the foundations of archaeology, theology, and our understanding of the very nature of human existence. David Goldstein, now 5 years old, continues his silent mission. Since April 2023, he has guided archaeologists to 7 more discoveries in the Holy Land. Each find confirms with chilling precision the locations he described in Aramaic. In Nazareth, he pointed to the ruins of a first-century house where, he said, the carpenter kept his sacred tools. Excavations revealed a workshop with perfectly preserved carpentry tools and an Aramaic inscription, Joseph Barkov, builder of holy things. In Bethany, David led researchers to a burial chamber where, in his words, Lazarus waited 4 days before the miracle. Inside, they found an empty sarcophagus with inscriptions matching the gospel accounts exactly. But perhaps the most disturbing is what is happening with other children around the world. The David Goldstein phenomenon is not unique. In the last 4 months, 23 similar cases have been reported across 5 continents. Children aged 3 to 7, who, after traumatic experiences, begin speaking extinct languages and demonstrating impossible knowledge of ancient civilizations. In Peru, a 4-year-old girl speaks classical Quechua and has led archaeologists to undocumented Inca ruins. In Egypt, a 6-year-old boy converses in spoken hieroglyphs and has located 3 lost pharaonic tombs. In India, a 5-year-old girl recites Sanskrit texts that existed only in manuscripts destroyed 1,000 years ago. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a neuropsychologist at the University of Barcelona, has studied 12 of these cases. Her conclusion is revolutionary. We are facing a global phenomenon that suggests human consciousness can access memories that transcend linear time. What does this mean for us? Are we witnessing the awakening of a new stage in human evolution? Or perhaps the return of something very ancient that never truly vanished? David Goldstein has shown us that the boundaries between past and present, between death, between the possible and the impossible, are far thinner than we thought. His story reminds us that there are mysteries in this world that science cannot yet explain but may not need explanation. They may only need faith. And what do you think? Are you ready to consider that reincarnation might be real? Leave your opinion in the comments and subscribe to our channel for more incredible cases that will challenge everything you thought you knew about reality. But there is something we haven't told you, something the researchers kept secret for months until recent events forced them to reveal it. On August 15, 2023, exactly 4 months after the first desert discovery, David woke up at 3:33 in the morning with an urgency that terrified his mother. Ima Khalilman. "Mommy, the time is up." Sarah found her son sitting on his bed, eyes wide open but glassy, as if seeing something she could not perceive. "What time, darling? What are you talking about?" David looked at her with a seriousness that chilled the blood. In perfect Aramaic, he uttered words Sarah immediately recorded, sensing their importance. Biloma darb wesrenarja de tishrin kadmea nura min shmaya netatadisha netkatal macula nisoa. On the 24th day of the first month of autumn, fire will descend from the sky. The holy place will be shaken, and the whole world will tremble. Sarah felt a chill run through her. The first month of autumn in the Hebrew calendar is Tishri. The 24th day of Tishri 2023 corresponded exactly to October 7th. But David didn't stop there. With a precision that would paralyze international analysts weeks later, he continued, Mindara Minarbea, Kravaniter, Alpek Warpmi, Niragn Biomakad, Itup Almalaikin Lamshanali. From the south and the west, the war will begin. Thousands and hundreds will be killed in a single day, and then the world will not be able to stop it. Sarah didn't fully understand Aramaic, but the words Krava, war, and Niragn, will be killed, terrified her. She immediately contacted Dr. Yadin, who arrived that same night with a team of specialized translators. The full translation of David's prophecy left them speechless. It described with chilling accuracy events that would occur exactly 53 days later. An attack from the south, Gaza. A response from the west, Israel. Thousands dead in the first hours. Dr. Yadin made the most difficult decision of his career. On August 20th, he sent a confidential report to the Israeli authorities. The report was filed as unverified information from an unreliable source. On October 7th, 2023, at 6:30 in the morning, exactly what David had prophesied began. But that was not the most terrifying part of his vision. The most terrifying part was what he said about what would come next.